Hello everyone, my name is Dalo, and this is the Magnetic Edge full audio book, the ultimate dating information for men. I wrote this book to help as many men as I possibly could. As you may know, there is a loneliness epidemic in the modern world. I'm here to offer solutions through my experiences and my teachings. This book is based off many years of experience and took many months to carefully ponder and write. I truly hope that it serves you and that you will see the value in it. I offer this information entirely for free, as my goal is to make the world a better place. This is my gift to lonely young men, as I too was once lonely. The Magnetic Edge. Introduction. The Art of Magnetic Masculinity. In this detailed book, you will learn that despite your genetic, physical, emotional, financial, or spiritual predisposition, you are capable of not only achieving the ability to have a wide array of dating options, but you will be able to prosper with the selected chosen women of your dreams. You have been lied to. You already have all the tools, but you are just incapable of using them due to the lack of awareness surrounding each of the tools' existence. We must reprogram our minds and make you conscious to the true reality of self. In this book, you will not learn a variety of game or pickup tactics. That is for the inauthentic. This is a book that teaches you how to tap into the very nature of your masculinity in the most authentic and commanding way possible, while providing essential dating tips that are unbeknownst to the common man. You will be given an edge that sets you far above the rest, an edge that will give you everything you want in life. It is a grave danger for the human soul to mask and inauthentically resist the very nature of its being. You must always be original, or your efforts will not prosper. After the initial phase of your newfound success in dating, your soul will grow weary in duration, and you will begin to seek out your true match, your yin to your yang, a woman that will lift you to heights unimaginable for the single man, the perfect equilibrium. Once applied, becoming a part of the 1% turns from an uncertainty to a high possibility. You are everything. You cannot go through this life believing that you are worse than your peers. You cannot go through this life believing that you are insignificant in the collective of universes. Before underlying the logical protocols of being highly attractive to women, you must first understand the alchemy, the foundation of it all. You already are everything, have everything, and will get everything. You operate in abundance and good faith. You don't believe in credentials or checkpoints. You believe in yourself. The system has enslaved you into believing that you are a tiny, insignificant form of bacteria that constantly has to spend its time achieving certain criteria and working your way up certain ladders. Skip the line. I'm giving you the VIP pass. The keys to the kingdom of a world you didn't even know existed. Once you have entered this world, you will never go back, and your life will never be the same. You will begin to pity others instead of yourself, feeling alienated, but in the most fulfilling way possible. You are not a victim of this world. You are this world. Bird's eye view. Defeating your demons is impossible. Don't even spend precious energy trying. You need to get a stranglehold on them, not slay them. Many are a slave to their demons, but I'm here to teach you how to turn the demons into your slaves, how to make them work for you. It takes constant action and never-ending leaps of faith, but with enough fortitude, you will start to understand and grasp it all. This is a spiritual process, and not one of meditating, holding hands, and circle jerking onto a tree. This is a process of self-destruction. If you are not brave enough to acknowledge this foundational step, Have fun living a life of metaphorical water torture. When you are in hell, you have to keep going. Change is excruciating, but painful change creates winners who get everything and anything that they want in life. Now that you acknowledge that you already are everything, don't have to wait for anything, and that the only way out of the fire is through the fire, you now understand the basic alchemy and the foundation of being magnetically attractive. You take what you want. You always overshoot. Always. Chapter 1. The Mysterious Aura. One of the key elements to intense magnetic attraction from women is developing a mysterious and intriguing aura. The average man believes that the script cannot be bent and that you should always answer questions with the utmost clarity. That is boring. Women are the most imaginative and curious of creatures. By giving her all the information up front, you are extinguishing the romantic flame that burns in her body. The art of being mysterious is not about being deceptive, but rather leaving room for imagination and interest. This makes you stand out from the sea of men trying to take her on a date. If you are an extroverted talker, you can spin your stories, obscure and exaggerate them. If you are introverted, you can keep a cold gaze and speak disinterestedly but gently when needed. You have to play to your character traits of who you are, but it's important to keep on the mysterious mask during the initial stages of dating. Once she is hooked on your air of mysteriousness, you can drip feed her over time with little bits of openness that she is yearning for, which will grow the relationship to an even greater degree. Since you have already acknowledged in the first chapter that you are everything and that you take what you want, you have to understand that this is not manipulation. This is a simple psychological process that needs to take place to overshoot your biggest of goals. If you don't believe that you are a good man, you will feel guilty. Guilt is a violation to the code of success. It's a low-frequency emotion that will destroy everything in your life. So believe that you are good. Women are very instinctive and subconsciously know that the harder the knight's armor, the softer his heart. By putting on a mysterious front at first, with little hints of gentleness, which we will discuss in further chapters, you will begin to spark the most amount of intrigue from her. How to develop a mysterious appearance. Take Andrew Tate as an example. Whether you love or hate him, it's irrelevant to this vital lesson. Despite black pill looks maxers labeling Tate as an objectively unattractive man, he is a man who knows how to get exactly what he wants. Many might see the reason for him attaining any woman he pleases is due to his wealth. That is wrong. Tate himself has stated he had many beautiful women long before the wealth and fame. We'll dive into the psychology of this in future chapters. Notice how he constantly wears sunglasses, even inside. They say the eyes are the gateway to the soul, and he's hiding them for a very important reason. He's maintaining an enigmatic air of mystery. The somewhat eccentric mysteriousness that he possesses gives him a massive edge over other similar masculine characters. It makes him appear more complex than he truly is. Evoking intrigue and magnetism from those who he is around. Women crave to see the soul behind the glasses and will do anything to further understand him. It's more than just shades. His glasses are his unique trademark. Johnny Depp, a man who can get any woman he wants, literally looks like the incognito mode logo on a daily basis. There are never-ending amounts of physically attractive men in Hollywood, and yet his career has still outlived almost all of them. As you continue to read, you will understand that looks do not matter as much as you have been told to believe. Depp maintains an air of mystery through his attire and personality that continually invokes all spectators. Adam Driver, not conventionally attractive, yet maintains a compelling presence through his attire and facial expressions. He wears all black, head to toe, No flashy logos displaying to the world who he is. Wearing all black is one of the most effective ways to become a mysterious powerhouse. It is the color of mystery. You may be thinking to yourself, wow, all these guys are rich and famous. It's a great thing that you're reading this book. That type of mindset is what's going to destroy you. You've been told celebrities are better than you in every way, shape, and form. Comparison is a trick. You can find these types of characters at the bottom of the status barrel, working bartender jobs, being a starving artist, broke beach bum, etc. Despite their wealth status, they are pulling just as many women. Remember, you are everything. That's not to say that you shouldn't strive for material success, but it does mean that there are people who have far less status than you, but yet they're pulling more than you. Why is that? Because they have mastered an element in their character that you may be dismissing even exists. The fundamentals aren't complex once you understand them. As a man, you always want a certain type of unique freedom and confidence. This sets you above the rest. The ones at the bottom and the top, they have that already, but the ones in the middle do not. Staying in the comfort zone, never challenging the norm, and never practicing the alchemy of life doesn't just give you an average job. It makes you average in general. You get an average girl, an average personality, an average existence. We'll talk more about this in the future. For now, let's do a deeper dive into the aesthetic of mystery. I'll give you a foundation and you can start from there. It's not for you to copy. You will develop your own sense of style and character that makes you unique. Replicas are never as valuable as an original. Never forget that. This will be the more feminine part of the read, so bear with me. It's important to cultivate a style so that it can be your superhero armor that carries you past the norm. Hairstyle. However outlandish and ridiculous, find a haircut that represents the personality that you want to convey, and stick with it for a long period of time. If you don't have hair, rock it as hard as you can. Always maintain that sense of character. Your personal created character will help you achieve the extraordinary. Don't obsess or overcomplicate it. Facial. You can find a pair of signature sunglasses that bring you a sense of power and individuality and boost your mysterious presence, preferably unique ones that only belong to you. Facial hair is entirely up to you. None of the facial stuff is a science, but I have heard that the more feminine the woman is, the more attracted she is to a man with facial hair. This is just food for thought. Don't box yourself in. Just wear what makes you genuinely feel like the VIP and have the balls to pull it off. Clothing. Clothing is not necessarily a science either, but presentation is extremely important, especially on first impressions. These are the shallower aspects of dating, the bait, and the personality will come later, the hook. It is essential as a man to stay away from graphic tees, massive logos, and feminine clothing like tight skin jeans or extremely oversized shirts that resemble a dress. Never wear Crocs or open-toed shoes. Stick with traditional, even colors and clothes that fit you well. Overly baggy or extremely tight-fitted clothes are never ideal, despite what society currently represents in the fashion world. You want to stand out, not fit in. You want to garner your style, not a reflection of someone else's. You can take inspiration from multiple sources and add your own unique flair. It takes time to find what you feel represents you best. Many men, especially nerds, reject the value of having a fashion sense and greatly suffer because of it. If you keep saying, "I want a girl to love me for me," and "it doesn't matter what I wear," now there is truth to that. But once again, we are talking about the importance of first impressions. and this will lead to the more fulfilling aspects of dating. I wear all black. The reasons: no mental energy on choosing what to wear, lasts longer due to lack of evidence dating, gives a mysterious aura that creates intrigue, a color that absorbs energy, good and bad, easier to blend in when feeling antisocial, but also easier to gain attention when intended. You're a phantom, you're an enigma. Think of a Black Panther and how striking its appearance is. We all feel like Batman sometimes as men, but when you wear all black, you are Batman. You don't need to have expensive outfits, shoes, and jewelry to impress women. You just have to look good. We all know the saying, money doesn't buy class, and it couldn't be truer. Many of my highly successful friends have millions in the bank, yet have the hardest time picking up women. At my lowest and most broken points, I just threw on an all-black fit and was killing it on every date I went on without having to pretend. There is a lesson in there. Maxing out your money-making stats is great, but without the knowledge I'm sharing with you, it's useless for picking up women. Stating that all you need is money to get women is a cope. It's an easy way to let yourself ignore all the important principles I'm teaching you. For the wealthy individuals that are reading this and still struggle with women, you are my proof. Many broke men get tons of women, even the most attractive of women. Dating long-term requires some sort of wealth in the modern era, but if you just want to get laid and eventually find out for yourself that getting the woman of your dreams won't change the way you feel, like I'm teaching you, then it does not require wealth. For those that have wealth or are in the process of attaining wealth, all the lessons I teach here will still help you get the singular woman of your dreams. You have a great base to build upon. I have never been on a date leaving a bad impression. I have never been on a date without being able to show physical affection. I have never been on a date without her wanting to see me again. I have never been on a date where the girl doesn't want to be with me long term. I have 100% success rate. It's much simpler than you think. This will soon be true for you as well. Now that we have completed the boring and shallower topics of how to be magnetically attractive to women, we will now start to dive into the most important topics that break down the psychological aspects. Remember, leave a good impression, bait, and use your personality to keep them. Hook. In the next chapters, I will unveil the darkest depths of the female mind and expose them for your benefit. These are not manipulative tactics, but rather profound insights that will save your life and help you master the chaotic dating scenes of the modern world. Every word that I type is for the benefit of man. The loneliness epidemic needs to end, but it cannot end if you don't have the tools required to beat loneliness. No matter who you are, you can do it. You will do it. Chapter 2: How to get women in person. Approaching women in person is similar to online, except it is far more dynamic. She can sense your aura and your confidence level. She can visually see your attire and your overall demeanor. We have discussed fashion, we have briefly discussed mindset, and we have discussed persona. One thing that will carry you to the finish line more than anything else is confidence. It doesn't matter how well put together your appearance is, how shredded your six-pack appears, how deep the tone of your voice is. If you do not have the confidence, or at least act like you do, you are fucked. Women are the most attracted to confidence, and this outweighs every other attractive aspect of yourself by a long shot. Even if you have zero confidence, luckily it can be quite easy to build. Like in the second page of this book, You Are Everything, You need to understand the spiritual and philosophical side of life a little bit. No one has any clue what they're doing here on this earth. We humans can't even sit still in a room alone without doing anything for more than 10 minutes. We constantly dissociate from reality because life is confusing and hard to understand. That's why we take up job roles and play certain identities, just to feel like we have a grasp on life. Truth is, we don't. By understanding this, you can genuinely enjoy life in more peaceful terms. No human is better than you. There is nothing to fear. The flesh of this world is nothing in comparison to God. If you don't believe in God, now is the time to start. There's not a single person or woman on this earth that you should fear. And the more you're connected to this ideology, the less you'll think about approaching the girls you like, and the more you will approach the girls that you like. For many, the fear of rejection is worse than the fear of physical death. Many would rather curl up in a ball and die than temporarily embarrass themselves. Every rejection, every embarrassment, and every bereavement is a mini death. These mini deaths lead to scar tissue and growth over time. Every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Napoleon Hill. Now that you understand that there is no flesh on earth to be afraid of, welcome to the real world, brother. Women don't belong on pedestals. You are a man. This is your world. Let's say you're at the club, you're horny, and you simply just want to bring a girl home. You're with your boys and they're pushing you to go talk to her. You chug a big sip of alcohol for courage, and you slowly start walking towards her. You already fucked up. Most guys, unfortunately, do this. If your goal is to pick up women at the club, never get drunk. Separate from your friends like a lone wolf. Blend in with the crowd and read the room. If you've become a master at being magnetically attractive to women, you won't even have to approach them. They approach you, and the shy girls will get their friends to approach you on their behalf. Since you haven't read the entirety of this book, we are going to assume that you are not a master yet. Once you've read the room and see the potential targets you want to engage with, move in. Do not go in with the energy that you just want to have sex with her. It will come through in your aura. If you watch porn or masturbate, you will greatly struggle to have a magnetic aura because you are so used to putting attractive women on pedestals. This is one of the main reasons for the abundance of weak and feminine men in modern society. Brother, if you stopped watching porn and jacking off, you will already be ahead of 90% of other men. There is no competition out here, no matter what you might believe. Turn to God. Quit that poison. Your life depends on it. Now that you have a nonchalant aura that doesn't radiate, "I want to fuck you," you can officially move in. Clubs are bizarre, and many women are there just to show off and look pretty. They also feel great power in rejecting men. Well, we'll give them an offer they can't refuse. In-person interactions are, once again, dynamic. She could be dancing, and with loud music playing, it will ruin your vocal game and make it awkward. I want you to ignore all of that and operate from a place of pure action. Don't think. Of course, this is incredibly hard starting from zero practice, but build that scar tissue, my brother, and put yourself out there. We don't fear any flesh. You do not want to take her out of a fun state, especially in the club. Going up to her and asking her her name is one of the most brain-dead approaches you can make. You have to create an interesting scenario. You could use the technique of, "I'm from the future," whispered in her ear. It's a ballsy approach that sparks her interest. She'll either love it or hate it, but she definitely won't think you're just another guy. You can say, "I'm from the future," and she asks, "What do you mean?" "Well, I'm from the future and we get married. I came back to relive us falling in love." You need to have a decent level of emotional intelligence to read her expressions. And you need to understand that her expressions don't always match up with her true feelings. She may give you a disgusted look, but inside, She might actually be into it. Some women are so used to rejecting and being disgusted by men at the clubs that they're on autopilot. Remember this. The moment you say, "I'm from the future," 9 times out of 10, she'll be confused. Don't wait for her follow-up response. Look at her expressions and lead it with, "And you and I get happily married." Women want a man to take her out of the club, no matter how independent they think they are. They're secretly looking for a fantastical romantic knight in shining armor. That is you, brother. If you approach her while she is with a group of friends, right after you say, "You and I get happily married," make sure to introduce yourself to your friends. "Hey, nice to meet you. I'm her future husband," and shake their hands. At this point, you are drawing your attention away from your target and cleaning up your environment to avoid her friends cock-blocking you. Claiming that you are her future husband is so bizarre and unrealistic that her friends may even burst out laughing in a good way. This is how you set up your environment for success. Once you've done that, you can take out your phone and pretend you have an important call to take. Tell her, "I'll be back in 10 minutes and I'll see you on the dance floor." This may seem like a superficial try-hard approach, but we are trying to hook the woman first before we dive deep into the depth. Every relationship has started from shallowness. Women want men to make all the decisions for them. They don't want to think. Women are similar to children and pets in this regard. You may call me sexist. I don't care. Nature is set up this way for a reason. I don't make the rules. Let's pretend you did all that, didn't give her a chance to speak. This usually means you were successful. However, sometimes you can tell if a girl just isn't into you. Ignore facial expressions and body language, and focus on her eyes instead. The eyes never lie. You'll get better at recognizing patterns the more you practice what I'm teaching you. Once you've disappeared for over 10 minutes, come back and tell her that it's time to dance. Grab her hand and lead her to the dance floor. Once again, this requires balls, and your balls get bigger the more you're used to being uncomfortable. You have nothing to lose, brother. We don't fear flesh. We are not avoiding the chance of embarrassment. We are going for the home run. If she rejects your dance floor request and pulls away, fear not. At this point, do not say, "Do you want a drink?" Never ask her a question and try to validate her. Never buy her a drink, ever. That is for the losers. In most clubs, women simply milk the drinks from the simps and turn their back on them. Simple. You'll either get her on the dance floor or you won't. Simple. Don't try to force anything. Don't sell a piece of yourself for her. Don't cater to her. It screams simp, simp, simp. Instead, just laugh it off and tell her, "That's okay. Hope you have a good night and be safe." You have let go of her and ended a negative on a positive note, following with a fatherly, "Be safe." It's mature and shows that you respect her in a non-desperate way while valuing her safety regardless if she's a stranger. By saying "be safe," you are psychologically digging in her brain that you are the safest man to be with in that club, and that without you, she has to keep her guard up. This could potentially draw her back to you later on. You have to look at the face of every defeat and just smile. Always smile in defeat. It's a psychological trick that confuses our enemies and makes them question if you even lost anything. If you watch professional fighters, sometimes they maniacally smile after a major loss, and it makes their opponent, the factual winner, feel like the loser. It's a great way to view life. Poisonous optimism is essential so that you can maintain your stride and move on to the next hurdle. Never beat yourself up. Now let's say she did join you on the dance floor. What's next? You've already sealed it, my friend. You have achieved a small victory. Make sure not to fumble what you've set up. You don't have to be the best dancer or the smoothest talker. You just need to show her a fun time while making her feel safe. Play it cool. Don't get desperate. Enjoy your time with her and figure out her personality. If you truly like this woman and see potential, tell her you're going to leave the club. Give her your phone and tell her to type in her number, and then ask her how she is getting home. Tell her it was a pleasure and then leave. Sunsets cannot be appreciated if they happen every hour of the day. They can only be appreciated for a small moment and then they're gone. This brings value and scarcity. This is you. This is how she remembers you. Leave on a high note. If you value the woman, you don't want to try to sleep with her on the first night. Text her later in the night asking her if she got home safe. In the morning, text her something related to her being your wife and how that you have a date planned for the two of you in a few days. Keep it playful, but not clown-like. When you text her, avoid emojis. Try to make the text that you do send meaningful. Give her unique compliments, not the usual generic ones. If you say, "You're so hot, thanks for the great night," you're putting her on a pedestal. Remember, she's an option right now, not your actual wife. Do not even imagine a future with her. And don't give her a piece of your soul until she has proven that she truly deserves it. This is the mistake that most men make. They paint a glorious picture in their head of a future with a girl that they once met at a club. Please, for the love of God, don't be this hopelessly romantic. There is no such thing as love at first sight, and that butterfly feeling you get in your stomach isn't love either. Love is hard work. Love is earned and gained. Love has ebbs and flows. Unconditionally loving someone is one of the hardest and most impressive things a human can do. It's incredibly rare. Never forget this. If you don't listen to what I'm telling you about blindly giving your heart to people, you will learn the hard way, the very hard way. Two things can happen after a heartbreak. Number one, you become better in every aspect and evolve as a man. Number two, you become cynical and depressed and view women as the problem. The average modern woman is hopeless, so is the average modern man. But to blame the entirety of the world's problems on women is the world's biggest cope. There are incredible women out there, but you have to become an incredible man, a beautiful man. And being a high-value male isn't what I'm talking about. You need to be more than just a high-income earner. You need to max out every stat of your character imaginable and do some serious soul-searching. Soul-searching? Yes. Explain to me how the most materially successful men on earth have some of the worst success with marriages. It's because they don't value love. They value their legacy. But what happens if I tell you that you can have both? It's the process of individuation that Carl Jung discovered by going into yourself and finding your soul. This isn't some new age spiritual crap. This is valuable wisdom that will help you become a machine in the world of dating and relationships. It's extremely challenging work, but what's the point of living if you never want to put yourself up for a good challenge? There isn't. There's a reason why people age exponentially after they retire. Consistent comfort destroys the soul. I'm not saying wake up at 4 a.m., go for a 5-mile run, then work 14 hours a day and repeat as these fools online suggest. Ironically, that is cope as well. Trust me. I did that for 3 years straight, and it does equal amount of harm as partying every day. To become a unique, magnetic, and interesting individual, you need to experience life. The highs, the lows, the perfect and the imperfect, the expected and unexpected. A man who has experienced it all is unfazed by everything. That is a superpower. Women will know you're genuinely different, and they'll want you even more. Moving on. If you just want the girl at the club to come home with you so you can sleep with her, I'll give you an idea of how. Now, I'm highly against one-night stands. It rots away the soul and creates psychopathy, as proven by various psychologists and psychoanalysts. It's highly dangerous over the long term. Since I know many are interested in how to sleep with girls after the first encounter, and because I know you won't listen to my experienced warnings, I'll share the info. But don't say you weren't warned. If you've got her on the dance floor, she is officially yours. However, you have to understand that many girls are different with their morals, regardless of them all actually being the same deep down. If you're that guy, you can even get the good girls to sleep with you the first time. If you're not that guy, which you will be eventually, you have to be aware of the signs. I feel somewhat grimy teaching you this stuff, but at least I can get you to a point where you can get all the women and realize that it is not the answer to all your problems. Most women in clubs are not good girls, especially if they're older. They're troubled souls drinking and partying their problems away. They're secretly in that club looking for love, just in the dumbest way possible. They want a real man to talk to them, show them a good time, and fuck their brains out. The problem is, there are no real men in the clubs. If you just show them a glimpse of your true nature, they will be dying to sleep with you. You're like the light in their never-ending darkness. They're ironically more desperate than any guy in that club. If they're the club type, not on their period, they'll hand themselves to you like a fish on a platter. This is exploitative and objectifying stuff. But trust me, it gets worse in later chapters. Hate the game, not the player. If you've done everything that I've taught you so far, from having an air of mystery, large confidence, and good attire, etc., then you'll easily be able to do what you please with her. The only question you ask her during the night is something along the lines of, do you want to go back to my place, have a few drinks, and see where it goes? Unfortunately, you cannot beat around the bush with this. You have to be direct and upfront about your intentions. By saying, and see where it goes, implies that you wish to get to know her more, and that sex doesn't have to happen. You already met her friends and cleared their uncertainty. You radiate masculinity and safety. You should be in the green to take her home. If she declines respectfully, it could mean that she has morals and usually isn't out at the clubs. Or it could mean that she is on her period. She may even go to your place and tell you that she's on her period at the last minute leading to sex. If you want her to give you oral sex, go for it. Remember, women are creatures driven by fantasy and romance. There's a reason why creative types, artists, musicians, designers, actors, etc. do so well with women. Don't be a creepy motherfucker. Provide as much creative foreplay as possible to make her even more comfortable and in a trance of romance. There are many exploits and manipulative tactics to get women to sleep with you. Some are morally far worse than others. The lover boy technique is the worst of them all. I won't be talking about that one. It's genuinely psychopathic and won't lead to anything good. The love bombing technique is bad as well and highly narcissistic, but effective. This technique requires push and pull. You insult her and then you surprise her with a genuine compliment, creating a state of confusion in her mind. You go from making her feel like nothing to making her feel lifted and dependent on your compliments. This usually works on the more insecure of women, which unfortunately for women is almost all of them these days. Then there's the I don't give a fuck technique. This is the state that I'm usually in when I'm meeting women for the first time. It's manipulative, like all these techniques, but it's morally superior to the others. You act as if you have endless options, and you just don't care if you got her or not. But you are not rude, you just don't care. You're not exploiting her or trying to overly manipulate her. You're just existing and radiating an aura in the process. Some call it stoicism, some call it depression. I call it effective. You're not trying to please her. You're not smiling too much. You're not handing out compliments or insulting her. You're creating the unique air of mystery I keep talking about. When you're in this state and you do finally compliment her, it will be like a spell that you cast on her. She'll immediately get butterflies. Of course, if this doesn't align with your personality type, you may come across as the guy who's always trying to play it cool, and she may see through it. If you're an extrovert, rely more on love bombing and pushing and pulling. Try not to be a fuckboy that just ghosts her after sex. There's much healthier ways to stop speaking with a girl. Healthier for you, healthier for her, and healthier for the world. If you never want to see her again, and your horniness got the best of you, this is why I don't recommend one-night stands, then you can message her politely after she leaves. Did you make it home safe? Or better, you can drop her off at home. Of course, you don't have to, but it's a small price to pay to a woman after she lets you have her most intimate act with you. If you were love bombing all night, then it could be harder to dissolve. This is why I don't believe that this is the best technique. If you didn't give a fuck all night, then she won't expect anything from you regardless of how much she fancies you. If you're highly emotional and care, you'd block her and ghost her. If you never gave a fuck, you'll respond to her messages hours later, sometimes even days. Then you'll keep the conversation boring and friend zone her over time. Since she fancies you, no matter how boring the conversation is, she saw your magnetic nature that one night she spent with you. She will always be waiting for you, and you'll always have her as an option. There is one very important aspect we haven't talked about yet: sex. Depending on how you have sex with her will matter enormously. Chapter 3: Power through sex. You need to understand the importance of the masculine and feminine roles in sex. This wasn't complicated for most of humanity until modern times, where now the roles are reversed. Remember what I say about an abundance of weak and feminine men in modern society? Now also remember, there are women out there wanting to put the strap on inside of you. If you like that, you might be gay. You also have to understand that no woman actually enjoys dominating men. It's just not in their nature. Even the most dominant of women secretly want a man to come and finally dominate them in bed. Whether you get to keep the girl or have sex with her again really depends on how masculine you are in bed with her. If she doesn't hit you up again after sex, it's usually because she felt like she was the dominant one. The bedroom is your time to shine. The time that throws looks, physiques, money, and status all out of the window. If you fuck her right, she will be yours to keep. I'm not talking about fucking her like you see in the pornos. I'm talking about fucking her like a real man. It's far better to genuinely fall in love with someone's soul before you do any of this. But it will work with your wife or with a random one-night stand girl that you met from the bar. It applies to all. When you are in bed with her, she needs to feel safe and in your control. The female psyche is extremely dark in bed, far darker than the male psyche ever could be. Even if females act like they don't enjoy this stuff, they crave it deep down. You have to fuck her like an absolute savage. And I'm not talking about just going back and forth as hard as you can. I'm talking about outlandish foreplay, telling her what to do despite whether she wants to do it or not. You must remember that role play is consensual sex. Kidnapping and having sex with girls are not consensual acts, obviously. You will turn your girl on 1,000 times more by telling her what to do. If she says she doesn't want to do it, that's her shit testing your masculinity. Women test your masculinity all the time. To pass these tests, you must tell her what to do. Persist. If you have a high enough emotional IQ, you'll simply know when you're actually crossing a line. Of course, this stuff is controversial and society never wants to speak about it. But it's very true and it's very real. You can be the sweetest and most loving boyfriend or husband, but still, she deeply wants you to completely dominate her in bed at least once in her life. You just have to prove that you can do it once. Show her your inner monster and she'll never forget it. Pull her hair. Tell her to get on her knees. Tell her to open her mouth. Tie her up. Grab her by her neck. Nibble on her back. Slap and grab her ass. You want to dominate her in every way possible, and you want her to lie there and take it. Of course, intimate sex is important in the long term, but animalistic sex, in my opinion, is the best way to start. Whisper in her ear and tell her to call you daddy. The dynamic is always daddy and slut. You are the daddy and she is the slut. She calls you daddy and you call her slut. You can use other words, but it really is that simple. Now, sex talk isn't real talk. You have to understand that. You can't just be on a date with your girlfriend and call her a slut. But you can in bed. It all depends on the environment and if you're in a sexual or casual mood. She'll understand the difference, but don't make her confused by saying it out of place. This will only lead to bad things. You have to annihilate her in bed. Show her you are the man and that she is the woman and that you're a very powerful man. This is nature. Don't be subservient to her. Don't eat her pussy. And don't let her ride you until you have at least completely dominated her in bed once. You could argue that things aren't this black and white, but unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective, they are. There is an animalistic nature to every person, and especially in women. Exposing this nature is important. The shadow of the human psyche needs to be entertained from time to time. Otherwise, it lashes out in other unhealthy ways. I'm not saying to become a demon in bed. This shouldn't be a lifestyle. With great power comes great responsibility. Uncle Ben, Spider-Man. You mustn't abuse your sexual powers, because eventually you'll end up destroying yourself. Entertain the darker, more animalistic side of sex once in a blue moon. Sex can be extremely dangerous, but you probably don't want to hear this. Just a friendly warning for the future. When you gain that sex appeal, it becomes easy to unintentionally pollute women. Some women are already polluted, especially in modern society, and some good girls will be polluted as well. Remember, if you are a real man, you are her programmer. If you truly love the woman, you want to program her in the most responsible way possible. By constantly giving into her animalistic desires, you could create a sex-obsessed monster inside of her. How does this benefit you? Well, apart from being a righteous individual, by giving into the darkness of her psyche consistently, you will create a woman who is not dependent on you, but rather your sex. Any stable being will grow tiresome of obsessive sex, and it fosters lust rather than love. And lust is one of, if not the most destructive force against love. I've seen far too many sex-obsessed couples that land up destroying each other in the most fucked up and gruesome ways imaginable. Despite society labeling consistent lustful sex to be a healthy way to connect, it's truly not. When you are in a constant state of lust, you have no control over your mind. You don't think logically, and you do things that go against what prospers your soul. There's a reason why girls on OnlyFans have such lucrative business. It's not because the men paying for these subscriptions are necessarily stupid. It's because they're in a constant fog of lust and have no control over their minds. Lust is an itch, and the more you scratch, the itchier it becomes. It will lead to disgusting types of sex and fetishes that become extremely difficult to tame later on. This is my theory on why certain billionaires lust after children. It's because that is the furthest you can go in the fetish world. Normal sex becomes boring. Lustful sex becomes boring, and fetishization becomes boring as well. You move up the never-ending ladder. Do you understand? You can never satisfy lust. It's a never-ending pit. An itch that can never truly be scratched. It's like a meth head scratching his face off until it falls off. Proceed with immense caution. I'm not here to destroy any of you. I want the very best for every man reading this. Sex drive is highly important to function as a high-performing male, but if you transmute that energy consistently into darkness, you'll never see the light. Chapter 4. Power through love. We've briefly talked about the power of love instead of lust, but let's dive deeper into the fundamentals. Despite society constantly labeling love through sex, romance, etc., love is unique for every individual. No one seems to have a clue what love is about. Just look around at the modern world, and it's evident that people are confused. Unconditional love is hard work, the hardest of work. Choosing to be better instead of bitter despite what negativity you encounter is a task that only the strongest of souls can accomplish. By choosing love every time, without sounding like a cliché drugged-up hippie, you will open gateways of success and positivity in your life that the average man cannot. You'll attract riches of the bank account, mind, body, relationships, and soul. You must protect your concept of love at all costs. Without it, life is meaningless and dystopian. Initially, when you fall in love with a woman, you will be head over heels for her, enjoying every moment as if it's your last. Eventually, this feeling of love will wear off after the first year or two. That feeling is not love. It is a crush. People give far too much power to their feelings, and their life spirals out of control as a consequence. They believe that they truly fell out of love with that person, and now it's time to break up and find someone quote-unquote better. Of course, there are terrible women out there, and I'll teach you how to look for red flags on the first date. But I'm not talking about that yet. I'm talking about running on a never-ending treadmill after something that you desire. Many become obsessed with the feelings that they get in the honeymoon phase and always try to relive them. They go from one person to the next. They're serial daters. This is unhealthy for the long term and only annihilates your chances of actually finding love in this life. Whether you believe it or not, love is real. Despite how damaging love can be, it's always worth the risk. Denying all possibility of love because you don't like the concept of getting your heart broken is like saying there is no point in taking risks to become wealthy if I end up in poverty. Every negative state that you are in is a temporary state. It doesn't last unless you let it. There is always a lesson to be learned through adversity. Hearts get healed and so do bank accounts. Love is always worth the risk. Playing games and creating tactics of manipulation just to make sure your girl never leaves takes a massive expenditure of energy. This is why I don't advise on game tactics for the long term, but rather just by getting in touch with your masculinity and having the desire to provide for and protect your family. Game guys always lose. They only end up playing themselves in the long run. Life is full of comical paradoxes. When you lock down a woman, you lock her down with love. Women are emotional and hormonal. They naturally bring negativity into the relationship at times. You have to understand that women think from emotion and men usually think from logic. You cannot counter her emotional arguments with logic. I'll give you an example. If she says, "You work too much, you never spend time with me," you cannot say something logical like, "Yes, but I need to work so that you and the family can have a good life." Instead, ignore her words and do something like kissing her on the forehead while stating, "You're so cute," and walk away. It may sound obnoxious and apathetic, but if done correctly, this usually leaves the woman in surprise. Your calmness during her emotional outburst proves that her negativity doesn't control you. They like that you're not startled easily and can handle stress well. Her emotional outbursts usually never come from logic. Even if everything is perfect, she'll still complain. You can argue that she's shit-testing your masculinity. You can also argue that she just wants your attention for a minute or two. Sometimes her emotional outbursts will be so severe that if you ever dare to fight her with logic, you will just dig a deeper hole that could lead to some nasty and regretful fights. You cannot fight fire with fire. You cannot fight feminine rage with feminine rage. Many couples bicker, argue, yell, and fight, but if a man holds his frame, the outbursts are extinguished. Now you have to understand that there are some highly dangerous, cunning, and manipulative women out there who will ruin your life if you're not careful. I will talk about intuition and how to choose the right woman in later chapters. But for now, we are talking about the average woman. So if a woman has a severe emotional outburst, sometimes the only true way, this might sound sick to some, is to grab her and fuck her well without saying a word. Sometimes that's all they needed all along. Psychologists and therapists always want to believe that talking problems out in a relationship is the only way to solve them. You have to understand that your conscious mind is nothing in comparison to your subconscious. Your subconscious is a behemoth. Sometimes the only way to solve relationship dynamics is just go into primal ape mode. There is much we don't fully understand about the human mind, so spending our entire life in a depressive and philosophical state trying to fix everything into perfection is a flaw. Just act with love, it solves all the other complications. Chapter 5. Power through comedy. One of the biggest secrets to life is not taking ourselves too seriously. In the dating world, there is tremendous value and power in comedy. Being able to make someone genuinely laugh is a currency. Have you ever seen a man who is below average in looks but is with a gorgeous woman? Usually, it's because he's funny. A study revealed that women are more attracted to a man who can make them laugh, and men are more attracted to a woman who laughs at their jokes. Sounds like a win-win, right? Now, if you're the more serious type, You don't have to become the over-smiling clown. You just have to add value through comedy at the right moments. You need to become unpredictable to women. They are attracted to the volatility of your nature because it's exciting for them. The moment she thinks you're the overly serious guy, throw in some childlike humor. The same principles apply vice versa. The moment she sees you as immature, throw in some wisdom. This will add depth to your character. Depth that will help you stand out from the rest. Emotional intelligence is highly important. You have to be conscious and know when to read the room so you can keep your conversation engaging. If you are constantly abusing the power of comedy, she'll never take you seriously. If you are always serious, she'll never think that you're fun. Being highly attractive to women is a perfect state in between. Most of the time, you want to be physically serious, you look like a competent male, but can provide never-ending amounts of fun. Trust me, the more fun she has, the more fun you'll have. Many of us men, we're pretty serious. Since you're here, you're most likely taking life seriously because you are trying your best to improve your current circumstances. This is honorable. Being serious is a great thing as a man. We are not designed to be happy little children dancing around a flower field, grinning and smiling 24/7. But you have to integrate character traits from boyhood into your masculinity. Never take yourself seriously all the time, because it can destroy you and ruin your chances of keeping a beautiful woman. A rare smile or a rare joke is so incredibly powerful. Many have no idea. Think about how satisfying it is to make a grumpy face smile. Despite whether you're a people pleaser or not, deep down we all know that a genuine smile is rare and valuable. Be the face that smiles when he should, not when he has to. Use comedy as a tool she didn't even think you had. Crack the most absurd and childish of jokes in front of her. Regardless of how high status you believe her to be, this is what makes us human. We all think things, but we don't always say them. I've been on many dates with classy women who come from highly wealthy families. Not the type you would want to joke around with too much. During my needed time of experimentation to gain the insight into dating I have now, I would test the boundaries of what could be said. Paradoxically, the absurd was always a weapon I could use to enhance attraction. For example, I was at a restaurant with a woman and the chandelier above us looked like a dick. I told her, "Why'd they put a giant dick above us?" That simple, dry comment made her burst out into laughter for what felt like an eternity. I had captured her soul just by stringing together an absurd sentence. Everyone in the restaurant was taking their environment and date so seriously. Yet I brought humor to it and turned my classy date into a laughing barn animal. Do you see the power? It's powerful because every person deep down knew the chandelier was shaped like a dick, but only I said it. Humor can make you unique because it requires creativity and daringness. Qualities that women find irresistibly attractive, but make sure you treat humor as a weapon and use it intuitively and strategically. Chapter 5. Truth, Serum, Masculinity. I'm about to dive deep into the depths of one of the most effective ways to turn a woman on. So far, I have redundantly talked about masculinity, not because it's a trite topic, but because I understand what 0.1% of all men understand. Life is an extreme paradox. The rules of the game are not what the common man thinks. And the common man almost has zero understanding when it comes to the nature of women. We all have intrinsic personal traits, but at our natural core, we are overly simple creatures. I discovered the key to magnetic masculine power through the proxy of living a risky and unorthodox life. There will be a future chapter ahead called How to Stand Out from the Crowd. This chapter is one of the most important and dives deeper into the fundamentals that I speak of. For now, I want you to live your life in truth, and it doesn't mean what you think. If you're horny, for example, you tell her that you want her on the couch, undressing herself. Think about it. Women have built-in shit detectors, right? They mostly know when you want to have sex with them. So why act weird and beat around the bush? They want you to make a move. They want you to unleash your inner masculine power. Most women would never admit this, but it is the truth. Just like us men go crazy when women do certain things, women go crazy and become subservient to you when you tell them the truth. This is your superpower as a man, and perhaps 90% of men aren't even using it. Never be afraid to say what's on your mind. The average man would be afraid to say he's a Trump supporter in the heart of San Francisco on a date because he fears that the woman won't fuck him. I know men that can't stop talking about certain influencers, but don't even dare to bring up their name on a date due to fear. Bring out your inner Tyler Durden. Don't give a flying fuck. Speak your goddamn mind for fuck's sake. What do you have to lose? Absolutely nothing. You have far more to gain by speaking your mind than suppressing it. Every time you suppress the truth within yourself, you are also suppressing your masculinity at the same time. I'll say that again. Every time you suppress the truth within yourself, you are also suppressing your masculinity at the exact same time. Women love it when a man isn't afraid to speak his mind. They go batshit insane for it. Why? Because it is so rare. I already told you how easy the modern dating world is once you understand the fundamentals. Do you get it now? Men say that we need to bring back masculinity, but I love that there's no competition out here, and you should too. This is how you will have a 100% success rate on dates. This is how they will never forget you. If your opinions are unorthodox and unique, and you say them with pure conviction and confidence, women will fall at your feet. It's truly that fucking simple. Stop trying so hard. Stop trying to logically calculate a winning strategy. This is why game guys don't get as far. You have to be authentically you. You have to tell her what's truthfully in your mind at all times. Once you tap into this, you will open incredible windows of opportunity for yourself. And that's what I truly want for you. Chapter 6. Passing shit tests. Women will try to test you in every single way imaginable. It's ingrained into them, and they do it subconsciously. Why do they do this? They shit test you because they're testing your masculinity. They're seeing how much of a man you truly are. Understanding these shit tests and how to deal with them is essential for creating more attraction in the relationship. For example, a woman may test your sexuality by simply asking if you're gay. Usually, she'll ask this if you're on a righteous path of celibacy. When she asks you such a ridiculous question, it's not because she is wondering, it's because she's testing to hear your response. If you get defensive about the topic, then you are submitting power to her unknowingly. Laugh off every shit test and keep the power in the relationship. Dealing with shit tests, sarcasm is your best friend. Once again, never fight her with logic or reason. You'll fail every time. Here's an example. She says, "I bet you didn't even miss me while I was gone." This is the wrong answer. "You don't know that? Of course I missed you. You're overreacting." Now this is the right answer. "What do you mean? I spent hours praying to the shrine I made with photos of you until you got back." Do you understand? Make sure your answers are light-hearted always. She wants to see your reaction. And if you lash out, it proves your insecurity, which is what she's testing. Don't take what she says personally, and always hold your frame. Add sarcasm or amplification to your responses to deflect and pass these tests. If she's being genuinely disrespectful, simply tell her, "Don't disrespect me," sternly. Remember that rage is a feminine trait, and lashing out will disprove your worth as a man. Chapter 7. Female friends. Dealing with her female friends is essential to creating a strong relationship, regardless if you're dating her for the short or long term. Some girls have the most obnoxious of friends, and you must deal with them wisely so that they favor you. Women run their mouth and gossip often, and if you didn't deal with her friends well, then they could potentially sway her out of dating you. Always be incredibly respectful, kind, and gentle. Show your best side, and come from a place of compassion and empathy. But don't be Mr. Nice Guy, obviously. Her friends want to assume you're the worst. They want to cockblock you, and they want to protect her as much as possible. Show them that they have nothing to fear, and that the protection is now in your hands. Introduce yourself to them respectfully, take care of them, and be genuine to them. Don't worry, you won't have to do this long term. Just make sure you don't fumble the first impressions. Make sure when you're out in a group with her and her friends, always have the best interest of all of them in mind. Tell them to stay as a unit, and make sure they all end up safely at home. It's simple but completely overlooked. As a man with a group of girls, all of them become your responsibility. It's important to either stay sober or drink very little. Becoming extremely intoxicated is an awful look and makes none of them feel safe. Even if you're a die-hard alcoholic, just make sure that you don't butcher the first impressions. Hide your dark side initially. You essentially become their father, looking after them and telling them to stay safe and be responsible while keeping an eye on them. It's babysitting. The way you treat her friends is a reflection of how you treat her, and her friends will notice that. Every woman wants a man to keep an eye out for her, someone they can trust and respect. It's not creepy unless you make it. It's human nature, and all women respect a man who protects. You garner their respect, and they say nothing but good things about you to your girl. They're essentially working for you and are in your favor. Checkmate. Chapter 8. Male friends. One should never allow their girlfriend or wife to have male friends. It makes no sense whatsoever. Despite how innocent your girl thinks her guy friends are, as a man, we know that this is untrue, especially if your girl is highly attractive. Male friends can sometimes be the most toxic and disgusting of people, sometimes genuine rapists. Many of them pretend as if they have no feelings for your woman, but secretly, they're obsessed with her. You need to find a way to reveal their true nature to your woman and have her cut them off. If he's genuinely creepy, every time they hang out, he is thinking about being inside of her, and he's building up a charge of dirty energy. Now, of course, there are rare exceptions between male and female relationships, but this is the standard for the average person. Any moment where your girl is vulnerable in front of a male friend, he could potentially make a sickening move. Remember, guys, women are smart. They have detectors, but sometimes they don't have a clue. How did so many women fall for a man who radiated the creepiest of energy? Ted Bundy, for example. Who the fuck knows? Leaving your girl alone with guy friends is such a cuck move. Regardless of how much you trust her, you always need to protect her. Gay friends are also off the table. The gay world is strange, and many gays are also bisexual. Makes sense, right? It's not natural to have a desire of only wanting to fornicate in assholes. Let's be honest. We need to view gayness as a disease to protect our woman and ourselves. On paper, it sounds ideal to be accepting of others, but when it comes to our family, we need to be highly selective of whom we choose to associate with. Sodomizers are polluted, confused, and untrustworthy people, and they do not belong around your girlfriend. Do you want to settle with a woman who lets her gay friends hang out with your kids? Certainly not. Gay culture belongs in the shadows and not in the mainstream. You have to always protect your woman and make sure you are the one programming her and not this toxic world. Straight people are the ones that keep the world going. We are the norm. Leading into the next chapter, here's a quote by Peter Hitchens. Is there any point in public debate in a society where hardly anyone has been taught how to think, while millions have been taught what to think? Chapter 9. Female Programming. If you're not programming your woman, someone else is. Femininity is easily programmed, and that goes for both feminine women as well as feminine men. Since you're here, I hope that you are a masculine man, who chooses a feminine woman. The world needs more of that. You want to make sure your woman isn't easily programmed and susceptible to the political, social, and corporate propaganda of the world. The modern feminine is easily brainwashed by social media, which leads to all kinds of mental diseases that will not only pollute your life, but the life of your future family. As men, it is our responsibility to guard our loved ones from such insidious programming. Modern feminine men are prioritizing looks over anything else, preening in front of the mirror, obsessing about their jawline and their canthal tilt, whatever that is. Do you think Alexander the Great cared about what he looked like while he was conquering the world? Do you think a modern business tycoon like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos care about their jawline? Absolutely not. It's impossible to be a masculine man while over-obsessing about looks. Taking care of yourself is one thing, but being obsessed with the mirror is a habit that belongs to feminine women by nature. Doesn't matter how masculine you look if you're still a massive child inside. Where am I going with this? I'm proving that femininity is easily programmed, regardless of gender. Yep, that is the modern world for you. Be better, safeguard your woman, and don't let her spend time consuming garbage reality shows, doom scrolling, etc. Get her off Instagram. Simple. Even this common trend of plastic surgery is something I find grotesque. Real tits feel 1,000 times better than fake ones. And so do real versus fake lips. You want to find a naturally and genuinely attractive woman. Natural 10s are superior and always will be. Most guys struggle to decipher whether a woman has had work done. This is due to dating inexperience. If she looks like every other Instagram model, she most likely got work done. Here's why I'm repulsed by it. Number 1, it's highly deceptive and dishonest. Number 2, zero uniqueness. Every girl looks the same. Number 3, weird aging. Number 4, creates never-ending insecurity / body dysmorphia. Number 5, BBLs and liposuction promote laziness. She's not going to the gym to earn it. Instead, she is paying for it. That kind of mindset is extremely toxic. And number 6, the children that you have with her won't look like her. As a naturally blonde man, I detest artificially blonde women. You should be proud of your race, heritage, and nationality. We should encourage our women to be naturally beautiful and not programmed by what's considered attractive to society as a whole. Obviously, if you're a woman and you're obese, it's time to exercise. I'm not talking about body positivity. I'm talking about genetic positivity. We should all step it down to how it used to be. For thousands of years, women used to look smacks, and now they do plastic surgery. Men used to not care about how they look, and now they look smacks. Let's go back to that. Because what's next if we keep going down this path? It will become common for men to get plastic surgery. And I don't know about you, but I would rather have a World War III than see that go down. Give me a natural blonde Scandinavian wife with naturally large breasts over a plastic sex doll any day. Now, that's not saying that's exactly what I want, but it is an example that natural is better. Breast implants can potentially impact a woman's breast supply. Do you understand? Do you see how insidious the societal programming is? Women would rather have fake tits and feed their infant baby formula than naturally breastfeed at optimum potential. By not breastfeeding your child, they'll grow up far less healthy and far less intelligent, and we as a society have just accepted this. Corporate programming runs far deeper than you could ever fathom. Chapter 10. Red Flags. To avoid settling down with a sociopathic or psychopathic woman, you need to be wary of red flags that she presents. Even just temporarily dating a woman of this kind can quickly destroy your life. You would think it's easy to notice when someone is manipulating you, but many are just not a good enough judge of character to decipher. Luckily, I'm here to teach those that aren't. The biggest rookie mistake a man can make is to be blinded by looks. Usually it's the desperate and inexperienced men who fall for these salvage title women. Looks alone are never enough. Highly beautiful women are abundant out there, and there is never a good reason to settle down with someone who is parasitic. Do not be blinded by beauty, because physical beauty only lasts for the short term. A fucked up life with kids involved is permanent. We've talked about the importance of masculine and feminine, and how as a man you always have to hold that masculine frame. Usually the most toxic of women are in their masculine. This typically stems from a childhood trauma where they didn't have a secure father figure and they had to adapt their personality to become more masculine to protect themselves. I have been on thousands of dates and have noticed that the most masculine of women have the strangest love-hate relationship with their father. They will talk about it on the first date. Keep in mind, not every girl with daddy issues becomes masculine as a byproduct. Daddy issues are different to having an abusive or absent father figure. Sometimes both are intertwined. Most modern women have daddy issues, and that's why they'll enjoy calling you daddy. Daddy issues alone are not a red flag. Keep that in mind. The masculine and manipulative woman is similar to a predator, and they are seeking their prey. Usually these types of women prey on weak and feminine men. They want to know that they can fully control you for their benefit. They fear the truly masculine men, but also deep inside, that's what they crave. When you're out, let's say at a club, and a woman comes up to you asking your name and taking an interest in you, whether you want to believe it or not, that woman is in her masculine. Feminine women usually do not hit on men. They wait for the men to hit on them. If a girl is comfortable approaching men, it means she's familiar with men. Too familiar. If you want to just get laid and never see the woman again, you could ignore these red flags. But if you want to find a real woman, reject all women that approach you. If you're on a date and the woman is confident and overly comfortable with you, once again, it means she's too experienced with men. Think about it. You're a stranger and you're a man. Women should always be a bit skeptical on the first dates. For all she knows, you could be the next Ted Bundy. If she's far too familiar with you, touching you, making demands, and flirting with you hard right off the bat, her body count is high. If the woman is a tad bit shy and follows your plans/suggestions without any hesitation, it means she's usually quite innocent and trusting of you. These are the types of girls that you would want to settle with. I have not necessarily talked about the ethics and moral duty as a man, but try not to take advantage of anyone just because they're innocent. Taking advantage of people may give you short-term gains, but over time, narcissism and manipulation could burn you to the ground if you're not aware of how to control it. We're trying to live the best life possible while being magnetic to women, but sometimes there are certain laws of nature you cannot violate. Let's backpedal into magnetic uniqueness as a man. Chapter 11. How to stand out from the crowd. We live in a time period where people are more afraid than ever before to speak their opinions. Why are people afraid? It's because they're afraid they might lose something. They're afraid of not having control, and they're afraid of being judged and ridiculed. This is normal. We are social creatures, and being an outcast is painful and isolating. But it also has its benefits. A man who is not afraid to speak his mind is a free man. Free men create free lives, and lives of freedom lead to extraordinary lives. We all feel fear, but it's the free man who always acts in the face of fear. This is the alchemy of excellence. Your ideologies, ethics, way you live and view life bleed into the external. Many might think that they're different, but truly they're not. This can be quite painful to realize, but it's an important first step. I used to believe I was so different from others until one day I came to the awakening that I truly wasn't. I worked a typical job, did typical daily activities, and had similar opinions to my peers and my parents. I knew that to break out of the ordinary, I had to take the risk of becoming extraordinary. I packed up my bags within 2 weeks and I decided I was going to leave the United States and embark upon a journey across the world, solo. With just a suitcase of my entire life's belongings and very little money in my bank account, I knew I had to make it work. I was inexperienced with business and feared the unknown of living in a polar opposite place culturally than what I was used to. I left family, friends, and everything else behind, including the old version of myself. It was so nerve-wracking that the fear would constantly bleed into my dreams with horrific nightmares of what could happen. I was extremely young and inexperienced. Making a move like this would be considered lunatic to the average person. And that's why I told no one until a few days before my departure. Appearing cold-hearted, but it was my way of metaphorically leaving the nest and becoming a free bird. I knew that whatever adventure I embarked on would mold me into a man that could one day not only save himself, but his family. Shortly after embarking upon my journey, I quickly realized that things were not as scary as they once seemed. Fear of traveling across the world solo was an illusion in my mind. An illusion that I have now destroyed forever. I would get stuck in poverty, my businesses were failing, and I had no way to earn money in a foreign country other than online. Always telling myself, I'm truly fucked. I can't pay next month's rent. Only to have money appear essentially out of thin air to save me. I knew that something was watching me. It was strange. How could I possibly keep scraping by? I never believed in miracles previously, but now, how could I prove that they don't exist? All the odds were stacked against me, yet I was still surviving and triumphant over every adversity. Quickly I realized that nature rewards courage. Taking a leap of faith is the scariest aspect of living. But you'll be surprised at how safely you'll land on your feet, and how things turn out even better than before. Life becomes your greatest teacher, and you tap into aspects of living that the average person cannot. This is where your individuality starts to set in. Having a great sense of genuine individuality is one of the most important aspects of attracting what you desire in life. No longer did I share opinions based on what I had been taught, or what I heard, or what I read. I now had opinions of my own based on pure experience, and experience is everything. You see, our world is filled with illusions. You can't even trust your eyes anymore in this world. Nothing in this world is what it seems. Once you understand this, you gain the power of bending and sculpting your own reality. You know that no matter how much you lose, it's temporary. You know that you'll eventually get it all back and more. You no longer become dependent on the opinions of others, society, and the system. You have more leeway to express your greatest ideas and opinions without holding back. You breathe life into your words because you have lived through them. Becoming a free thinker makes you highly attractive in this world. Your aura oozes genuine confidence. It's magnetic. The founding fathers of the United States of America had the same free-thinking approach to life. They knew that they had to escape the kingdom of Great Britain to create excellence elsewhere. And they knew that they had to conquer their fears to do so. America was once a country based on freedom, and now look what it's become. It's a place where people are genuinely scared to speak their minds and break free from the system that enslaves them. Despite how many people believe that they are free thinking, they are not. This is the scariest part. Even opinions that challenge the norm have now become the norm. How many American people genuinely challenge the idea of COVID? Not many, possibly 1% of all people. Nowadays, it's quite common to hear people talking about the corruption of power during COVID. But during the period, I personally only knew one person who actually challenged it. Everyone else bought into the lie. It took a couple of influential people to express their opinions online for the collective of people to finally stand up. But it was too late. Our world is constantly programming us with fear, and a person who fears is easily controlled. Fear is poison. It's the devil's greatest asset. Fear robs us from living our authentic lives and getting what we truly want. These principles apply to all facets of life, especially in the dating world. Are you afraid to express what you believe in front of a woman? Are you afraid to tell her the truth that lies in the deepest depths of your mind? Let's be extremely real with ourselves. 99% of people are afraid. The common man is afraid that if he speaks his truth based on personal experiences, the woman will strongly disagree and leave him, ruining all chances of dating success. Here's the irony. Life is always full of comical paradoxes. Women love to hear when a man speaks his mind. They love to hear a man who thinks freely and challenges the norm. It genuinely turns them on like nothing else. Even the woman who disparages your opinion with pure disgust will go to her home and think about you. He who angers you conquers you. Elizabeth Kenny. I'm not talking about angering people for the sake of angering. That is trolling. I'm talking about saying something that genuinely makes sense. Something that shatters the reality of those that are stuck in the norm. Your opinions are based on pure individual experience. Therefore, they ring true. Carl Jung spoke about the collective consciousness amongst people. This means that people can resonate with the truth before even experiencing it for themselves. When you have experienced the abnormal depths of life by overcoming fear, you come to abnormal truths. Truths that make you unforgettable as a person. You will either be loved or hated, but never in between. You become extremely hard to forget. And becoming unforgettable will make all her other dates fade in comparison to you. People on average are far more similar than we'd like to believe. And by living a life anti-fear, you stand out from everyone because almost everyone is afraid of life. In the dating world, you could never be replaced. And even if she despises your very existence, deep down, she knows you're irreplaceable. Deep down, she's obsessed with you. During your successful dating journey, you'll come across many girls stating that, "There's no one out there like me." You'll then realize she's actually no different from all the other girls. I have been on thousands of dates, and there was only one singular girl that was genuinely different from all the rest. 1 in 1,000. That's 0.1% of all people. Anomalies are that rare, and vice versa applies to us men. I have met so many women with identical opinions that they brand as unique, with the same tattoos, the same stories, the same hobbies, and even the same names. Patterns are predictable on dates. I can tell exactly who she is within one occasion. This is what happens after endless dating experiences, and it's the reason why I wrote this book. It's far easier to get women than you think, but finding that special breed kind of woman is extremely difficult, almost impossible. Why are people so similar? It's because we as a collective society are programmed into systems, and only the freethinkers get to break out of them, no matter how unique you think you are. Unique experiences, upbringings, lifestyles, and mainly traumas can create anomalies. Think about great athletes such as Mike Tyson. Becoming one of the greatest fighters to ever live is far more impressive than most could fathom. One-on-one during his prime, he could physically beat any man in the world. Do you believe greatness is just genetics and hard work? It's much deeper. Tyson experienced unforgettable traumas during his chaotic upbringing. Traumas that he wanted to gain control over. He became an absolute behemoth to cope with the feelings he had as a small and insecure child. Instead of drowning out his insecurities and trauma with drugs and distractions, he looked them in the eye and told himself that he would become the greatest fighter of all time. Imagine if you could just garner a fraction of Mike Tyson's greatness and success. It all starts with thinking differently, going after the extraordinary, and facing reality. What even is reality? Perhaps there is no such thing. But it was his reality, his insecurities, and his trauma that he overcame. Understanding this is essential to standing out from the crowd. Society tells us that depression and anxiety are factors of life, yet they send us to therapists to vent and prescribe us drugs to mask the problems. Any analytical mind will quickly realize this is not the solution. Depression and anxieties are meant to be overcome, and God wouldn't let us feel such emotions if there was no way to naturally overcome them. Sometimes our greatest curses become our greatest blessings. Intense emotional pain can lead to unique sparks of greatness if you don't constantly try to suppress it with external solutions. Why does this matter in the dating world? It's because the dating world is a reflection of life. How well you do with women is a reflection of who you are and what you're capable of. Our society is fixated on the idea that looks are everything, but truthfully, it's our aura that gives off genuine attractiveness. Great people can get any woman they want, regardless of their looks. This is why I hate the black pill, because it's a lie. It tells you that if you aren't at least 6 foot, then you're better off dead. What? Just simply Google successful men under 6 foot and see how many of them there are. There's plenty of perfect examples. It's because they're rich. Brother, just look in the real world for other examples and stop copying. Why don't some men see the evidence? It's because no matter what, some people just never try to evolve. They give up as an easy way to cope with life. Everything truly worthy in this life takes risk and exhaustingly hard work. No one is dealt bad cards in life. Even the people who are born paralyzed and mentally deficient have a certain level of bliss that we probably couldn't comprehend. We're constantly told that we are victims of our environment, victims of our depression, victims of our ailments, etc. It's all a load of rubbish. You get to choose if you want to be a victim. It's all a choice, and once you feed the idea of being a victim, you become one and get nothing you want out of this life. Do you think the victimized woman who says, "All men are bad," will ever find a loving husband? No, she won't. She just ends up with abusive men because she attracted victimhood. The same applies to us men. Every man that I know who has said, "All women are bad," or something along those lines, has always attracted the worst of women. It's a vicious cycle, and if you're aware of your victim mentality, then it's time to break out and reap the rewards. Personally, I have never stated that women are inherently bad and that they're responsible for the current degeneracy of the world, and I have rarely attracted a genuinely bad woman. Interesting how that works, right? Always be optimistic and never be a victim. So now we understand the importance of tackling fear through action, voicing our controversial opinions, and getting a sense of individuality through experiences without becoming a victim. Beautiful. Moving on to relationship dynamics. Chapter 12. Younger sister dynamic. Treat the women you date as if they're your younger sister. Yes, you heard that correctly. If you have a sister, how do you usually interact with her? Do you tease her? Do you try to impress her? Or do you simply not care? Usually, we tease our little sisters, but we always look out for them. We don't take them all too seriously, but we always want the best for them. We give them what's called brotherly love. And sometimes we can be playful, but they always know we have their back at the end of the day. I want you to stop putting the girls you date initially on a pedestal and see them as if they're your little sister. Why? Well, it helps you gain her trust. By showing your playful nature right out the gate, you are creating massive amounts of trust in the relationship. You aren't radiating "I want to fuck you" energy. You're radiating trust, playfulness, and protectiveness. You're getting the woman to open up naturally and feel incredibly comfortable around you. By acting as if you're her older brother, you aren't going to overly compliment her and come across like a desperate simp. Perhaps you have jokes with your sister that are extremely inappropriate, that you wouldn't dare to say to another woman. Jokes that your sister understands. Do you get it? Every word that you speak is delivered through vocal tone and mannerisms. Much of language has nothing to do with words, but more so specific sounds and visual cues. By being in the older brother state, you can get away with so much more vocally than if you take her incredibly seriously. She'll grow increasingly comfortable around you, while at the same time building a unique bond with you. No, this has nothing to do with incest. It's a relationship dynamic. Older brothers aren't creepy to their little sisters. Obviously, playing into the older brother and little sister dynamic, you immediately establish that unique trust that usually takes many dates to build up. You're not creepy, you're funny. You're not serious, but you're protective. You're essentially friend-zoning her, but also you're not at the same time. Women only put you in the friend zone when they friend zone you. Usually when a guy is creepy and shows too much affection, this happens. Or when they're dating other men and keep you as a backup. Of course, since you're reading this book, you'll never be a backup. And you should never accept that. But it is an example. If you put her in the friend zone, she'll usually want you more. Men who get put in the friend zone typically want the girl even more as well. It works both ways. Going back to the "I don't give a fuck" attitude, by initially friend zoning her, you are showing her that you don't take the dating life and yourself too seriously. Do you know how sad the reality is for most men that date? I'm sure some of you know. The guy does everything he possibly can to make the date perfect. He spends hours on his appearance and choosing what to wear, planning the date, and even what to say. Yet the girl seems disinterested and doesn't see him again for a second date. Why is this? It's because, like many things with life, you have to flow like water. Swimming upstream and constantly fighting the current is exhausting and doesn't breed an environment of comfort. Women seek comfort and stability in men. If you're overly stressed, they hate that. If you care way too much, they hate that. If you're not any fun, they hate that. They simply hate all serious emotions in men, except when serious emotions are required to protect their lives. Never take them out of the state of play. Once again, they're similar to children in that regard. You've played the older brother dynamic, you friend-zoned her, now what? Believe it or not, deep inside her mind, she is thinking that she's not good enough for you. She's enjoying the supply of fun you're giving her, but she doesn't know how she feels about not being taken seriously. It's refreshing to her, but it's also making her feel insecure at the same time. You're confusing to her. This is perfect. This is right where we want them. If you've gotten her into this state, you'll notice her having a great time usually, but her body language and other mannerisms are showing signs of insecurity. She's wondering, why the fuck hasn't this guy told me how beautiful I look? She believes it's actually never coming. When the moment is right and you have her in your grasp, this is the perfect time to compliment her appearance. We discussed the power of the I don't give a fuck approach, and here it is coming back full circle. When you genuinely compliment her after hours of brotherly fun on the first date, you are giving her the unexpected and reinstilling the value she felt she lost with you. She now becomes dependent on your compliments for reassurance and validation. Hilarious, right? Yes, but also incredibly dangerous. Since the dating world is terrible for most men, I give you full access to this trick. Use it to catch her, but once you've caught her, never again. Promise? Yes? Okay. Little compliments go a long way, just like temporary sunsets are hard to forget. Chapter 13. Mother Dynamic. When you settle down with the woman you love, which you eventually will regardless if you believe in the concept of marriage, you'll want to treat her the same way you would treat your mother. Why? Because men are designed to take care of our mothers, just as they once took care of us. She's not becoming your mother. You'll have to figure out your mommy issues on your own. But you'll treat her as if she is your mother. Does that make sense? You'll take care of her no matter what. You'll always be there to protect and provide. Would you want your mother slaving away at a job? Absolutely not. Same applies to your wife. Would you ever call the woman you love a bitch, a cunt, a whore, etc.? No. Even if your mother or wife deserves to be called such names, you wouldn't dare because you're designed to love them unconditionally as a man. Calling your loved ones hateful names is a trait that's associated with feminine rage. It has nothing to do with masculinity. I already taught you how to be aware of the red flags, and hopefully you choose your wife wisely and won't have to deal with toxicity. Since I am a master at reading people, I have never chosen a toxic woman, and I won't pretend I know what it's like to deal with one long term. Toxic women are out of the equation here. Society is in a state of pure confusion. Influencers online give such try-hard advice when it comes to dating. But what do they know about long-term relationships? Not much. We spoke about the importance of building power through love, and once married, you have agreed to love and guide your wedded spouse. You have to understand that this book aims to set you above the rest and defy the normal standards of modern dating. You are above what society tells of you. You don't have to comply with anti-marriage and anti-woman philosophies. You just have to know how to get. Choose and love the right woman in the most masculine way. The number one reason men struggle with dating and keeping the woman they're interested in is simply because they have not found their sense of masculinity. Once you've become a noble man, the relationship will flow with ease. We are programmed to believe as men that getting tons of women is the goal, and that even having multiple wives while being wealthy is ideal. It's not. I've been with endless women. It didn't make me feel like more of a man. It made me feel like less of one. Another paradox of life, and the main reason I wrote this book. Craving and seeking validation from women is not what being a man is about. That's what boys do. Boys need the attention of their mothers, and since so many men are still stuck in boyhood, they carry this need for validation into their adult lives. I was in the same state until I woke up and killed the boy inside of myself. Circling back, treat, guard, and protect your wife as if she is your dear mother. We are talking about the symbolism of mothers, not necessarily about your personal relationship with your mother. You want your woman to be in her divine feminine, which will open doors to the best form of love and intimacy. She'll give her best to you and your future children. I'm not talking about the standards of the past, because we cannot replicate the past efficiently in the modern world. We have to be the best of the best as a man. What defines the best? Think about the very definition of what having a father figure is. He loves unconditionally, provides unconditionally, doesn't demand respect. He earns respect through action and example. He is a symbol of hope and trust. He is the light in the dark. Leading into the next chapter. Chapter 14. Father to all. The pinnacle of masculinity is to become a father figure to all who you encounter. This is the final evolutionary step of manhood. You are not trying to be a father, you are a father, by example. Sounds strange? It is. You're not spending precious energy and time trying to be a father figure to other people unrelated to your family. You are naturally just the light in the darkness. You radiate kindness to even the most wretched of souls. Not by trying, but by being. Do you understand? This is not a nice guy act. This is your authentic masculine aura, shining hope into a disturbed world. As men, we should all aim for this level of pure power, because it invokes the best in all. By helping others, you naturally are helping yourself. There's nothing harder than continuously doing the right thing instead of the easy thing. It is far easier to be self-absorbed, judgmental, pessimistic, and given to hedonistic desires. Being a shining light is highly difficult. And that's exactly what makes being righteous the most masculine possible path. Think about how easy it is to eat ice cream instead of something healthy, or how easy it is to come up with an excuse why you can't go to the gym, or a reason why you can't help someone on the side of the road. We take the right path, not the easy path. By being a father to all, you naturally become more attractive to all women. They'll see you as a beacon of safety, but be cautious. Polluted women will try to take you off your righteous path. If you just want to get laid and don't want to dive deeper into the very core of your untouched masculinity, then you'll be able to accomplish that with ease through these principles. Getting laid is extremely easy. Almost too easy once you understand the basics that 99% of the world overcomplicates. Naturally playing the role of a father figure in the modern world is like shooting a fish in a barrel. You'll simply ask yourself, was it really this easy all along? Absolutely yes. The modern world lacks genuine role models and supportive figures. Society idolizes celebrities and other degenerate icons who tell commoners, do what you please. No, you need discipline, moral code, and structure to build an indomitable spirit. Because if you aren't in control of yourself, someone else is. People naturally gravitate towards those who are focused on bettering themselves and the world around them. When times are dark, the lightness prevails as a symbol of hope for all. I want you to understand that this is not easy. Walking in the light is the hardest path you can take, and very few people can walk in the light consistently. It requires a spirit that supersedes the average man. Friedrich Nietzsche spoke about the Übermensch and how a man can become superhuman through will to power. If you are familiar with Nietzsche's incredible work, you'll know that he never truly achieved what he philosophized. He unfortunately died a lonely incel, and I believe his biggest flaw was the fact that he didn't believe in God. Why? Because willpower can only get you so far. Forces outside of this physical realm influence what type of person you are, and it's important to feed the right ones. Walking the path of righteousness that feeds good backed up by having sheer willpower, creates the most powerful of spirits and metamorphosizes into the Übermensch / father role that Nietzsche philosophized. Whether one believes in good and evil is irrelevant. A close examination of our world simply proves that the polarization of what is right and wrong is evident daily. Chapter 15. Good moral character. Remember that we talked about how women want to feel safe around you? The easiest way to show a sense of safety is through your public persona. If you're a complete dickhead to everyone but your date, that is a true red flag, and her radars will be going off. You want to show her how genuine and kind you are, even to the most insignificant of strangers. Women adore and respect this character trait. For example, let's say you go on a date to a restaurant. Make sure you treat the servers politely and respectfully. Show compassion and tip them well. By doing this, you are creating a great sense of trust, which is what helps evolve your dating life quickly. If restaurant staff are familiar with your kindness, it makes you look good in front of your date. You're building a support repertoire. You're showing the woman that you can handle strangers well and that you have a good heart for the common person. Just by being kind, you make yourself appear more unique, since most people these days simply just don't have manners or compassion for anyone but themselves. Women don't like selfish men, because men are not supposed to be selfish by nature. We're supposed to provide by nature. Personally, there is nothing more rewarding than treating the people I interact daily with kindness. This comes naturally to me. Many women have told me after the date that they love the way I handled our servers and the people in the restaurant, and that she thought it was incredibly sweet. We live in a world where kindness is often mistaken for weakness, but if you are in your masculine frame, kindness is and will always be a powerful tool in your arsenal, and it makes you feel better. Before I truly became a man, I was still kind, but since I hadn't tapped into my masculinity, my kindness wasn't nearly as effective. Many times I was stepped on. Nowadays, that is never the case. The sad reality. Some of the most successful people I have ever met are exceptional at handling people, especially strangers. They treat everyone with the utmost kindness and respect, and radiate positivity in every environment that they're in. This is a skill. Some may argue that this is a superficial persona, but it's not. When you truly love life, you love the world, it's that simple. There is something so wholesome about seeing kindness in others. It makes us believe that they are truly human and have a soul. Women crave to see this in their desired man. They want a man who is a light in this world, not a man who creates darkness wherever he goes. When you're a stranger on a date, the woman is looking for aspects of your character that she can relate to. Since women are naturally nurturers when they're in their feminine, when you're kind as a man, you quickly dissolve that stranger layer and you become more familiar to her. The more familiar you are to her, the more she can see herself loving you. Don't forget that kindness and positivity radiate warmth and creates a chance of success in your environment. You're not sucking up to people, you're simply just being a good man. If you have confidence issues, understand the difference between people-pleasing versus being a man of good moral character. Many times, in life you will have to respectfully say no to people because you respect yourself. If you don't respect yourself, the world will punish you. Chapter 16. Self-respect. Self-respect is incredibly misunderstood by most. It's not about accepting, it's about respecting. Being morbidly obese and not doing anything about it is self-acceptance. But getting up and making changes daily is self-respect. If you're low on self-worth and self-respect, you have to start small. Small steps compound over time. When one is depressed, even the smallest of daily activities, like proper grooming and bathing, go out of the window. Be conscious and start with the small things, and build your character up alone. But once you've made strides in thinking outside of yourself, start doing kind acts for your family, and this will build your self-respect to level 2. Then, once your family is taken care of, Start giving to the rest of the world. This builds your self-respect to level 3. There are levels to this. Many have a hard time just getting past level 1. Remember, life isn't just about you. Becoming extremely successful in anything requires you to be outside of yourself. This is how having self-respect relates to getting women. If you truly have built up your character, starting small and building yourself into a spiritual behemoth, you'll easily know your worth. Once you know your worth, you won't let the wrong woman into your life. Many think that they know their worth, but they don't have a clue. We see "know your worth" on social media. It's become trite at this point, and no one teaches you how to have worth other than go to the gym, get money, blah blah blah. Having worth comes from how much value you can give to others. Do you see how unselfish it is? The key to a strong sense of self-respect is to be selfless. That is the beautiful paradox. Everything you desire in life comes from being selfless. Now, of course, you have to have a spine. That's why I say there are levels to this. Self-respect starts with being selfish, but it evolves into becoming selfless. Having self-respect is tied to confidence. It's something you build. We all know by now that confidence is the #1 biggest turn-on for women. You need to truly ask yourself if you have self-respect. Do you let others walk all over you? Do you hang out with losers that bring no value? Do you keep letting yourself down and giving into your old ways? Have that conversation with yourself. And keep it very real. It's painful to look reality in the eye and dive into your psyche, breaking past illusion and focusing on evolution. But it simply has to happen if you wish to gain some semblance of success in this life. Women are a reflection of life. Guys who do well with women can excel at anything. Having self-respect is vital in life. It keeps you centered and helps you maintain your sense of ego and identity. This will make you more magnetically attractive. For example, if a woman makes more money than you cannot let her pay the bills. Your masculinity is priceless and earned and should not be bought by others. If you sell out to a life where a woman takes care of you financially, you lose all self-respect, and the relationship crumbles into a depressive disaster. Nothing entirely wrong with a woman making more money than you, but make sure you pay for her and take care of her as much as you can. If you don't like the idea of this, then simply don't date a high-earning woman. They're not usually ideal anyway. Having self-respect makes you more attractive because you are a light in the darkness, and people will naturally gravitate. The world is now your oyster. You're in the 1% of men, and you are free to do and say what you please. It doesn't matter how perverted or disgusting your talk is. It will only turn on women even more, drilling the repetition into your head. Life is paradoxical. Being in the 1% of anything is not a black and white process that the world presents it to be. Truth is, most don't know what it takes to be in the 1%. Why? Because the 1% are mad and don't live life from a scarcity mindset. They have a nothing to lose mindset. The reason why when people hit rock bottom they stumble upon gold. You think seducing her with sexual talk will push her away. But if you're highly magnetic, it does the complete opposite. This is polarization. It draws her even closer. You're pushing the envelope and dating in a way that 99% of men are not. Be a risk taker, a gunslinger. Fire from the hip and shoot your shots. This falls back into truth, serum, masculinity. But as a man, there is a perverted nature to our thoughts that we don't project onto others. I'm telling you that you must project them. You're being honest and upfront and telling her what you want directly. You're being the opposite of a game guy or a player or a fuckboy. You're not wasting her time and you're letting her veer into the depths of your true desire. Women respect this type of honesty, and it stimulates them greatly if they're attracted to you. Say whatever you want. It's not illegal. You can get away with some of the most disgusting statements. I did this myself to test the limit of female psychology. As we know, the female psyche is darker than you could ever fathom. The reason why I teach such methods of unleashing your dirtiest of desires into face-to-face talk is because it sets you apart from the rest. What's worse, the men who think creepily and don't say anything, or the ones who do? You're building trust because every woman already innately knows what men desire. Society is broken, and you shouldn't care for what society presents as right or wrong. Saying what's in the dirty depths of your mind is never wrong. It is completely fair and right. Perhaps it could be considered impolite and a bit abrasive, but remember, much of psychology isn't understood through logic. Do not speak your thoughts through text, but rather in person. Hiding behind a screen and unleashing your dirtiest of desires onto your dating prospect will make you appear weak. Always unleash them in person. In person, she will feel safe and trusting of you if you've based it on the other principles we have learned here. It's almost as if you claim the role of the man and put her into a feminine frame once you start telling her what you desire with her. She could be the most masculine of women, but once you give her a piece of your mind, she will submit to you naturally. There's a saying that the rich get richer. Well, the same rings true with attractiveness. The attractive become more attractive. The 1% of men who are pulling all the women are talking in a way that the average man would find unbelievable. You have been lied to over and over again. You need to understand that you cannot be creepy if you're attractive. This whole nice guy approach is outdated and ineffective. There is nothing good about hiding your true intentions. That's what evil people do. Why do we separate that boundary when it comes to dealing with sexual talk? Erase this programming from your mind and rebuild the solid foundation that I teach. Be utterly disgusting with your talk, and then understand where you lie in the dating world percentile. Chapter 18. Authentic Self. You have to accept the reality that not everyone on this earth will like you. It's always better to be authentically yourself rather than people-pleasing and masking your true nature. Even if that entails many more despising you, it's better to be hated by most and loved by few than liked by everyone and loved by none. Finding your authentic self is a task that is unique to you, a journey of self-discovery. Do not be ashamed of your hobbies or interests. Perhaps they will revolutionize the world someday. Kurt Cobain was bullied in school for his style and persona, and now the grunge style lives on forever. Do you understand? Everything has to evolve at some point. Disregard the trends. Be yourself. And if you don't know who you are, keep looking. Sure, you can get women by pretending to be something you're not, but this is not the whole point of this book. Guess what? You'll burn every false relationship to the ground. Why? Because it doesn't feel fulfilling. Trust me, I've been there. It's not fun. Players end up playing themselves, and that's why I don't advise upon being a game guy. By being your authentic self, you can tap into a dynamic that gives you real confidence, real energy, and real swagger. You'll attract the right woman, and it won't feel like you've played yourself. False personas and masks are inevitable to collapse. They just simply don't last. Eventually, you'll have to evolve. Don't be afraid of rejection, embarrassment, or any type of temporary loss. All these mini failures are connecting you with who you authentically are. You're learning about yourself. Once you feel in tune with who you authentically are, the dating world becomes far simpler. You have an indomitable amount of trust in your future and dating prospects. If a date doesn't work out, you simply accept that it wasn't meant to be and that better opportunities are waiting for you around the corner. You have faith that everything is going exactly the way it should. And since you're in tune with who you truly are, rejection doesn't feel like rejection. It feels like clarification. Those who are lost feel bitter and depressed whenever a date rejects to further pursue them. and this only perpetuates the vicious cycle of loneliness. Sometimes you'll even find that women will think your quirks and unique character traits are extremely attractive because they mark you as a special human being, making you more desirable. However, many times you will be misunderstood and possibly even ridiculed. This is just the small price to pay for living an authentic life. Think about the world's most impactful celebrities. Usually, they're the most controversial. And the ones who are controversial just for doing things their way are the ones who are authentically themselves. To make the biggest possible impact, you simply have to be yourself. Nature despises the inauthentic and pushes human species to evolve. Know yourself, where you came from, and your morals, and let go of negative self-talk. Stop living in the past. Be open to change and express yourself. Imagine if every man was authentically himself. Could you imagine how much more difficult the dating world would be? Because right now, it's far too easy. Do you want to shine? Or do you want to live in the shadows forever? The 8 pillars of magnetism. Number 1, believing you are everything. Number 2, having a mysterious aura. Number 3, gaining power through sex, love, and comedy. Number 4, truth, serum, masculinity. Number 5, being unique, standing out from the crowd. Number 6, being a father to all. Number 7, having good moral character plus self-respect. And number 8, not taking things too seriously. These are the most important pillars when it comes to attracting women and having a magnetic edge over other men in the dating world. Let us briefly summarize each step. Number 1, believing you are everything. Confidence is the most attractive quality to women. You operate from a place where there are no what-ifs or buts. You are not telling yourself, she would like me more if I was wealthy, or she would love me if I were tall. You are accepting that where you are currently is the best you can do for now, and you already have all the tools you need. Number 2, having a mysterious aura. You possess a certain element of curiosity about your persona that drives interest and attraction. Number 3, gaining power through sex, love, and comedy. You are using sex, genuine love, and comedy as a tool to create deep levels of sustainable intimacy and attraction. Number 4, truth, serum, masculinity. You are speaking your mind as if today is the last day of your life. You are saying exactly what's on your mind and not fearing the social repercussions. Number 5, being unique, standing out from the crowd. You are a trailblazer, taking the path less traveled and being guided by your intuition, which lets you live an interesting and unique life. You don't live in fear, and you know exactly what you want in life. Number 6, being a father to all. You have a deep care for all human beings around you and radiate light in a world of darkness, making you divinely attractive. Number 7, having good moral character plus self-respect. You treat everyone well. You are polite and respectful, but you are not a people pleaser. You respect the time and feelings of others, but you also respect your own time and feelings as well. You treat even strangers with kindness, adding special attractive depth to your character and creating value for others. Number 8, not taking things too seriously. You could care less if a girl rejects you. You're on to the next one. You could care less if the date went badly. You just tell yourself it'll be better next time. You don't let depressive and negative self-talk conquer your mind. And you don't overthink every micro detail when on dates or when something doesn't go your way. You live and you let live. Once you mentally carry these pillars with you in every dating experience, you will start to see windows of opportunity open up for you. Windows that maybe you never thought were capable of being opened. Things do not end here. My mission in helping you never ends. I want to make sure you achieve your goal of being desired by an abundance of women. I will be active in the Magnetic Edge exclusive Discord group, helping you as much as I possibly can. To join, all you need to do is click the link in the description. It's exclusive to the first 1,000 subscribers on my channel. Enjoy. Thank you for listening to this audiobook, The Magnetic Edge. I'll see you on Discord.